Welcome everybody, round number 9 of the Accentus Biel Chess Festival, and this was an important one because the leader, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, was playing against this guy, Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, who's trailing Mamedyarov by 1 point. So Carlsen needs a win in this game to catch up to Mamedyarov. Mamedyarov with the white pieces would be quite happy for a draw. So penultimate round. Most important game of the tournament, let's get to it. Mamedyarov started out with d4 and Carlsen showing his ambitions early on, going for the aggressive King's Indian attack, or King's Indian defense I should say. Knight f3, Mamedyarov choosing a fianchetto setup here, quite solid option against the KID as it's also called. And now knight c6, and here the two main moves, as you can see, are d5 and d takes c5. But Mamedyarov early wanted to leave the main theoretical paths and he played e3, which is not a very ambitious move. This position has been seen over 600 times, but Carlsen goes for a move which has only been played twice, the move d5, and this is a good move indeed. d5, playing in the center, now that white is also restricted to bring out his bishop. White takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes. The queen is in the center, can be attacked, but really doesn't give white that much. Queen goes back to d6. The knight attacks the queen once more. Queen drops back to c7. d5 going for the knight. Here knight e5 would be fine. Rook d8 is also fine, pinning the pawn for now. So white cannot take the pawn. Bishop d2, unpinning the pawn. Now there's the threat of pawn taking knight once more. So Carlsen moves the knight. He plays knight before. He still wants to keep a lot of imbalance in the position. In the press conference he was also asked why not knight e5, but it seemed to him he wanted to have more imbalance to play for win, because he needs to win this game to have a chance to win the tournament. So knight b4 is also fine. Bishop takes b4, c takes b4, rook c1. So now we have a change in the pawn structure. Black has the bishop pair, which is often an asset in the middle game. And on the other hand, the white pawn structure is a little bit superior because black has slightly weakened structure here on the queen side. Now let's see how this continues. a5, and here immediately Mamedyarov goes for a3, which allows black to get rid of this double pawn, but opens up the queen side more for his pieces. Now a4 was played, and both players really played very well up to this point. Here Carlsen criticized his choice, bishop f5, and he didn't see one move that Mamedyarov played shortly after. Bishop d7 would be possible. Rook a6 was another move that Carlsen suggested, but the best move in the position, which already gives black an advantage, is the move rook b8. And the point is that black wants to go b5 without being hit by d6, which would win the rook. So this is a preparatory move for b5. And why is black better here? Well, he has the bishops and he has the potential for creating a passed pawn here on the queen side, which, supported by the bishop, especially this guy on g7, could be really, really strong later on. So black has the better cards here. Bishop f5 is fine, but black has to be precise now, and it's definitely white who has the initiative. e4, bishop d7. So you might ask yourself, why did Carlsen do this in the first place? Well, I'm guessing that he wanted to make the dark squares a little bit more accessible for his bishop to weaken the d4 square. But what he had missed was that white can now play queen e3, very logical move to threaten this discovered attack against the queen and the rook, knight b6, which is not an easy threat to parry. Carlsen plays perfectly now, and both players play very good chess from here on. Rook a6 stops this. Now e5, another advantage of queen e3, being able to push this pawn forward. b5 and d6, and this is all pretty forced here. d6 was necessary. If you move the knight, then this pawn hangs. So d6. Now queen b8, d takes e7, an attack against the rook. So black doesn't have time to pick up the knight. Rook e8, and now rook fd1, also a strong move by Mamedyarov, threatening this bishop. Rook takes e7, defends the bishop, and now queen c5. Yet again, white is not moving this knight, he's attacking a black piece once more. And here, after a series of good moves by both sides, Carlsen plays the wrong move. the pressure that Mamedyarov has applied pays off. Carlsen plays queen f8. Better would have been bishop to f8, defending the rook this way. First, this does not look really appealing. After knight d6, the knight looks very strong, but black can just play rook e8 back, and this should be fine. This should be about equal. For example, queen c7, takes, getting rid of the strong knight. Now playing rook d8, everything's defended, material is equal. This should lead to a draw. After queen f8, however, which was played in the game, Carlsen had missed knight to e3. And now the knight is coming to d5, and here black is really in trouble. Black cannot pick up this pawn because the bishop would be hanging. So Carlsen plays bishop e6, but now white can just pick up this pawn on b5, and he's a pawn up. Rook a7, now knight d5. Also interesting was to play queen b6 here. And for example, rook a7, bishop c6, rook c7, f4. This would also be a very difficult position for black to defend. The advantage here would be that you still keep this knight, because what happens in the game is that after knight d5, black can take on d5, and he did. And now we have these opposite colored bishops. And opposite colored bishops, it depends. In the end game, it can be really a huge factor for the defender because it gives much higher drawing chance. But in the middle game, when there's an attack going, it can really benefit the attacker. Here though, doesn't look like white will get some kind of attack soon against the black king. So this exchange, I would say, favors black a little bit. Here Carlsen played rook eb7, queen d3, rook b8, now h4. Both sides are trying to improve the position. Black definitely would like to trade queens here. Queen e8, queen d4, queen e7. And here Mamedyarov plays f4, which is fine. Maybe stronger would have been rook c4 going after this pawn. And white should really have excellent winning chance here, because he's not only a pawn up, but also this pawn on a4 is weak, and all his pieces are clearly in a good spot here. So let's see the game. f4, bishop f8. Good move by Carlsen. King h2. Black can still not take this pawn because the rook is hanging, so this is why Carlsen plays rook ab7. And here, once more, I think white should keep the queens on the board. That would just give him the most potential. Rook d6, and still excellent winning chance for white. After queen takes a4, now black should have very serious drawing chances, because he has eliminated the queens and he has gotten rid of his weak pawn on a4. Now we just have this 3 against 4 or 4 against 3 on the king side. Still, there are chances, of course. Bishop e7, king h3. Here one question I ask myself, why not play h5? Because this is usually the best setup in these kind of endgames. There's this pawn chain, because whenever white wants to make any kind of advance, he needs to exchange pawns. But also not easy to defend after f5 takes and rook f1. Because now this pawn could be a weakness, and I think this is why Carlsen did not play this. After rook c7, however, white could go for h5 and give up a pawn, but get these pawns moving. f6, e6, and now white has a strong protect the passed pawn on e6. Still the position should be holdable, defendable for black. Rook b3, so we'll see these moves pretty quickly now. Both sides are playing well here. Mamedyarov is trying to make something happen. Now go after this bishop, bishop b4, rook b8, bishop back, bishop e4, rook c4, attacking the bishop. And here you have to give Mamedyarov credit, because he kept on trying. Well, he doesn't have anything to risk. Anyway, so he keeps on trying, plays rook b7, exchanges one pair of rooks. And now Carlsen makes a mistake. He plays rook to a5. But the position is tough. The drawing move would be bishop f8, and black should be able to hold. He just has to, of course, always watch out for e7, but if this bishop moves, then he can play the rook to e5 if needed. Still, tough position to play. Why is rook a5 a mistake? Well, computer gives some lines. Mamedyarov didn't go for the right move here. He played bishop c6. The best move was bishop c4, and the point is that if you keep chasing the bishop, now at this point, white can actually take on e7, because here he's not only threatening to take the pawn, he's also threatening e7. When the rook is somewhere else, I could just play king g5 here, and after e7 get my rook behind the pawn, it would be a draw. But here I cannot get my rook behind the pawn because this square is protected, and if I play rook a8, then after rook f8 I have to resign. So this is the idea behind bishop c4. Well, difficult stuff. Let's see the game. Bishop c6, bishop a3, rook f7, threatening the pawn. And here, after the game, the players agreed that rook e5 was a mistake, which is not the case. And they said, okay, black should probably take on f5 and then play this endgame, where Carlsen was pretty sure it's a draw. I'm not sure, I don't know. Could be a draw, could not be a draw. Definitely a lot of plays still ahead, I would say. White definitely has some chances. But yeah, might as well be a draw. In any case, rook e5 is a good move. It's actually the best move in the position. Now Mamedyarov went king h4. And here Carlsen plays a big blunder. He loses the game in one move. He went bishop to c1, which just leaves this e7 square unprotected, and Mamedyarov could just push e7 and there's no way stopping e8 when black has to give up the rook for the pawn, and then of course there's no draw inside. The last thing you could try here, which would be, well, somewhat ridiculous to try because it's not really that good of a try, is to play rook e2 threatening checkmate, but white can just go king h3, stopping this, and queen next move and win. So after bishop c1, e7, Carlsen resigned, which meant that Mamedyarov won the tournament already with one round to spare. So let's see what Carlsen should have done instead. Actually, he has many ways to play here. He should just keep the bishop on this diagonal. And it's surprising because you're saying, okay, well, white can pick up another pawn. How is this not winning? He has these two connected pawns. But opposite color bishops, they're really good defenders sometimes, and here it seems that white cannot make any progress. This pawn cannot move, this pawn cannot move without losing this one. And if you go after this pawn, for example, to win another one, black has this defense, bishop e3. If you take now, there's bishop g5 check, king g4, rook e4 check, and white would need to agree to the perpetual because this bishop is hanging, so you need to go back to g4 and it's a draw. So this seems to be a defensive setup where white cannot make any progress. Surprisingly, still to me. In any case, Carlsen blunder, played bishop c1, and after e7 he had to resign. Mamedyarov wins the tournament and has had an excellent showing, 7 out of 9 points, that's +5. Wow, that is quite incredible. Incredible performance by Najdorf. Congratulations, and also a really impressive game, I would say here. Putting pressure on the world champion, even though the opening didn't work out perfectly, but you also have to give Carlsen credit for fighting, for trying to get a game, for really giving his all. But in the end, Mamedyarov was just playing too good chess in this game and in the whole tournament. But also I want to say that Carlsen really showing World Championship character by showing up to a press conference and also congratulating Mamedyarov while there and talking about what was going on during the game. So great tournament to follow. There's still one more round to go, and we'll see if there are more exciting games for me to cover. Hope you guys enjoyed the analysis, and if you did, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.